Okay, Be'ezat Hashem, Na'aseh v'natzliach. I'd like to welcome you to Ironside Lunch and Learn as we continue our study of Parashat Shavua. This week's Parashat Vayechi. I want to give an honorable mention to our generous sponsors. We have Ofer Mizrahi for allowing us the use of the space, as well as Judah Mendel from Mendel Law, as well as Hummus Factory for giving us a beautiful fresh lunch every single week, even though that this week is a fast and we're not going to use their services. But once again, we're very grateful and very thankful for them for being a weekly sponsor of this class. Parashat Vayechi is the last parasha in Sefer Bereshit. It also falls out with the story of Yaakov Avinu in his last days. And ironically, this week it also lands on the week of the fast of the 10th of Tevet. And Be'ezat Hashem will try to tie in all these concepts together to see what we can learn from it for today's day in life as a Jew. Last week's parasha, we have to go back a little bit to Parashat Vayigash to understand what's going on in Parashat Vayechi. The beginning of the parasha begins with Yehuda and Yosef, two brothers. They're in a conflict. Yehuda doesn't know that Yosef is his brother. He just sees him as the viceroy of Egypt. Yosef knows that Yehuda is his brother. And very rare, and we see here the negotiations of Yehuda saying, take me for a slave, take me in exchange for my brother Binyamin, because he doesn't want his father to be depressed or to die from depression from the fact that he lost both his sons Yosef and Binyamin. So Yehuda is negotiating a trade-off, that Yehuda should take the place of Binyamin and Binyamin should go back to his father. And the story goes on in Parashat Vayigash of how eventually Yosef reveals himself to his brothers, and the whole sit down and the whole scenario of how they reunite. And there's much that can be said about that. But something very interesting comes up. It's not very often that we get to see two tribes interacting with one another. We know that famously Shimon and Levi are the two brothers that are constantly together. We know that they were together in the slaughter of the people of Shechem, the 30,000 people that were there. And we also know that Yosef knew very well that when the two of them were together, trouble might come about. That's why when he arrested Shimon, he arrested him in order for Shimon and Levi not to be together. He was the first arrest that he made in order to separate them. But ironically, we have here a story of Yehuda and Yosef. Again, very rarely do we have any of the two tribes interacting in context in the Chumash. And as soon as you put these two people together, Yehuda and Yosef, two things come to mind. The Geulah, the redemption, the final redemption. Why? Because we know that the Mashiach, or the two Mashiachim that are supposed to come from the tribes of Yosef and the tribe of Yehuda. Mashiach ben Yosef is one, which is supposed to be the first one. And then Mashiach ben David, who comes from the tribe of Yehuda. And we see that we're entering a theme of Mashiach and the theme of Geulah, of redemption, in the parashiyot of Vayigash and Vayechi. And in order for the Jews to merit a redemption, to merit a Geulah, they have to go to the Golah. They have to go into exile. They have to go into diaspora. In other words, they have to go into the diaspora, the Golah, in order to merit the Geulah. Without them going into exile, they can't be redeemed from the exile. The Jews have 4 exiles. Some say 5. The 4 exiles are Mitzrayim, Bavel, Yavan, and Edom. The first exile is the exile of Egypt. And in this week's parasha, in last week's parasha Vayegash, we see the beginning of the first exile. Yaakov and his 70 offspring, the 70 descendants, are all coming into the first exile, as was promised to Avraham Avinu by Kadosh Baruch Hu. As a matter of fact, in the Amidah, in the first paragraph of the Amidah, we say, Mevi Goel Livne Benehem Be'ahava. That the Kadosh Baruch Hu brings the Redeemer to his children, Be'ahava, Leman Shemo, for his namesake, with love. The word Mevi Goel, the word Mevi, you can split it up into four. Into Mitzrayim, that's the Mem, Bavel, that's the Bet, Yavan, that's the Yud, and Aleph, that's Edom. So Mevi Goel, after the Jews go through those four exiles of Mitzrayim, Bavel, Yavan, and Edom, then the Goel comes. So here we are witnessing the Mem, that they're going into Mitzrayim, the first exile. Now, in the fifth Aliyah of Parashat Vayegash, it talks about the first exile. You can see that this is the first few steps into the exile of Mitzrayim. As we see Yaakov and his 70 children, and his children and his grandchildren and his offsprings, which total up a total of 70, make their way to Mitzrayim. And the Torah begins to count these 70 individuals. And it names them by the mothers, by Rachel, Leah, Zilpah, and Bilhah. And it names each child and their offsprings. And as we start to count, by the time we get to number 33, we already have a discrepancy in the count of these 70 nefashot that are going into Mitzrayim. What is the discrepancy? Well, when it comes to number 33, it counts Yehuda's children of Er and Onen. Now we know that they were killed. Hashem killed them for the way that they behaved, for their evil actions. So right away, 33 becomes 31. And then when we move further into the count, we see that they include Dinah, which is a woman, and Serach, the daughter of Asher, as part of the 70. But yet, we also know that all the 12 tribes were all born with a twin sister, and they weren't counted in it. We move forward to the end of the Aliyah, and it says over there, on Pasuk Chavav in Perek Memvav, it says, Kol hanefesh haba leYaakov mitzrayma yotzei recho, all the souls, all the people the people that we're going to count that come from Yaakov, that are coming to Mitzrayim, yotzei recho, meaning that are his offspring, milvad neshe bnei Yaakov, kol nefesh 66, excluding the wives of the sons of Yaakov, comes to a total count of 66. 66, we're still off by 4. However, the next pasuk says, Uvnei Yosef asher yulad lo b'Mitzrayim nefesh shnayim kol hanefesh sheba Yaakov haba Mitzrayima 70. So he says that don't forget that Yosef had over there 2 sons. They had Ephraim and Menashe. So 66 plus Yosef plus Ephraim plus Menashe, we're at 69. Yet the last pasuk says, the end of the pasuk says, Kol hanefesh shebet Yaakov haba Mitzrayima 70. The total is 70. There's so many discrepancies along the way, not to mention that Yosef's wife is Osnat, and Osnat was the daughter of Dinah, and surely she's Jewish, and she should be counted as well. Dinah was counted, Serach bat Asher was counted, yet we're not counting them. And we see that over here, as a total count, we have 69, but yet the pasuk says that we were 70 nefashot, 70 souls that came down to Egypt. So if you go to Rashi, he tries to open it up for us. And Rashi says, Nosefa Yochevet ben Achomot. that Yocheved, who happens to be the mother of Moshe, Aharon, and Miriam, she was born at the gates of Mitzrayim, meaning as soon as they entered Mitzrayim, as soon as they entered the Golah, Yocheved was born. However, there's a question on that too. We know that we don't count a person until they're at least 30 days old. Up until that time, they're considered in a status of a peged. So how can we count Yocheved? So there's a different opinion that says that the Levi'im, because she comes from the tribe of Levi, the Levi, even if they have somebody, a baby that's in the belly, we still count it. So she was counted as 70. And so that 70th nefesh that came to Mitzrayim happened to be Yocheved. Another opinion, if we don't take Rashi's opinion that it was Yocheved who was the number 70, if we go to Pasuk Memvav, Perek Memvav, Pasuk Gimel, it says over there, Yaakov was scared. Yaakov was scared that his children were going to go now to Egypt and be very... I think that's Pesa wrote right over there. If you could help her come to the class, maybe just wave to her. Very good. All right. So we see that Yaakov was scared. He was scared that his children were going to come down to Mitzrayim. Why? Because they're going to be in the heart of Las Vegas. They're going to be in the heart of the city that's filled with the most amount of tum'ah. And he was scared that his children were going to be there. Welcome. His children were going to be there and they weren't going to be safe or spiritually safe. So we have Hashem coming to Yaakov Avinu, and Pasuk Bet says, Vayomer Elohim leYisrael b'marot halayla. Vayomer Yaakov, Yaakov. Vayomer Hineni. So we see Hashem comes and visits Yaakov, and he tells him, Vayomer Anochi ha'el Elohei avicha. I am your God, the God of your fathers. Al tira mireda Mitzrayim. Don't have fear. Don't be scared of going down to Mitzrayim. Ki legoy gadol asimcha sham. I'm going to put you into a big nation in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. And here's the pasuk that we want to get to. Anochi ered imcha Mitzrayim. I am going to go down together with you to Mitzrayim. When the pasuk says Anochi ered imcha Mitzrayim, that's the number 70. We have an opinion that the 70th neshama that came down, we included HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because up until now, we were able to count 69, including Yosef and his two sons. The Anochi Ered Imcha was HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now you say, how can we include Hashem? How can we count him? Well, there's several other places where we included Hashem in the count. In the selling of Yosef and his brothers, we know that there were 9 brothers at the time. And who was involved in the selling as well? They said that the 10th one was HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As a matter of fact, we say that when 2 people are learning together, who joins them? The Shekhinah. They say even when one person is learning Torah, who joins them? The Shekhinah. That we're able to count the Shekhinah as one with you. So, if you could imagine, we're in the gates of Mitzrayim, about to enter the first Galut. The first time we're going to the Golah, and who's joining us? God. Hashem is with us. Alufo shel olam. They refer to God as Alufo shel olam, the master of the world, the highest level that can be in the world, Aluf. And they say what letter in the alphabet commemorates that Alufo shel olam? It's the Aleph. Aleph, if you write it out, if you see in the Sifrei Torah, it's written, it's a Vav and a Yud and a Yud. So the Yud is 10, the other Yud is another 10, the Vav is a 6, altogether is 26, which corresponds to Alufo Shel Olam. So if we take the word Gola, and we take the Aleph, the Alufo Shel Olam, that comes together with us, so as soon as we enter the Gola, as soon as we enter the exile, if you put the Aleph into Gola, what do we get? Geula. We get redemption. If you add Aleph to exile, to Gola, you get the word Geula, redemption. So we see that as soon as we enter the exile, we already have the redemption coming along with us as well. Hashem doesn't give the Makkah before He gives the Turfa. There's no before Hashem creates any sort of situation, whether it's a calamity, a disaster, a hardship, as soon as it presents itself, you should know that the solution is there as well. Hashem put us into Golat Mitzrayim, but at the same time, redemption was there with us. God was with us at the same time. Hashem Magdim et Refuah leMakkah. Where do we see that? Many different places. For example, this is a common joke that you'll find. They say that if you look at the Shas, we have Masechet Gitin preceding Masechet Kiddushin. We have the Masechet that deals with divorces preceding the Masechet that deals with marriages. Why? Because Hashem Magdim Tatrufa LaMakkah. He says, before you get into the problem, I already have a solution for you how to get out. Also, there was a joke, you guys missed it maybe. If you take the word tzara, tzara is troubles, right? If you take the word tzara, and you take the one letter before it, tzadik becomes pei, resh becomes kuf, hey becomes dalet, tzara, the thing that precedes it is pakod. What's pakod? It's actually the code word that Moshe Rabbeinu used in order to identify himself as the Goel, as the Redeemer of the Jews in Egypt. He says when they told him, if you're the Redeemer, what's the secret word? It was Pakod Ifkod. Pakod Ifkod Hashem. It's because Moshe Rabbeinu was heavy-tongued. And it's very hard to say Pakod Ifkod when you stutter. And he was able to say it fluently. And not only that, he was able to say it because this is the word, this is the special secret code word that Yaakov Avinu passed on to his children and his children to their children, that said when the Redeemer comes, the word will be Pakod. So we see that before there is a tzara, there is what? A salvation. So we see that as soon as the Jewish people are entering their first exile, who's right there with them? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yosef hinted to this. He hinted to the coming of the Geula in the Gola. How do we see that? When he was giving a message to his father and to his brothers, there's something very unique that happened over there. When they were able to purchase their food, Yosef put his goblet inside their sack, inside Binyamin's sack. Why? Why would he choose the goblet? Why not something else? Why not a sword? Why not a cup? Why not a plate? Why not a shoe? Why not 10 bags of money? Why did he choose the goblet, the gavia, to be the one thing that he puts in Binyamin's satchel, and let alone to have it brought all the way back to his father Yaakov so you can see it as well? So Chachamim tell us, there's a midrash that says that the word Gavia was a code word for Yaakov. Because what does Gavia stand for? Yosef was sending a message to his father. He's telling him, this is like a code. I'm sending you a Gavia so you can understand we have reached the point of Gimel. What's Gimel? We've become the 3 patriarchs. The promise that Avraham got from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that will go into exile is when we are going to be going to turn into a Goy Gadol. How do we turn into a Goy Gadol? We need to have an Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And he says, then there's the Bet and the Yud of the word Gavia. The Bet and the Yud corresponds to 12. We're already 12 tribes. And now there's the Ayin. Ayin is numerical value 70. We're 70 nefashot. So now that we are Gavia, 3 forefathers, 12 tribes, and 70 souls, now is the time to enter the first Galut. And that's the reason why he put the goblet in his sack, to let him know that this is the time has come. Furthermore, when Yosef speaks about this goblet, what does he say? He told them when they brought it back, he says, don't you know that a person like me can predict with this type of cup? In other words, to hint that he could look into the cup and see things in it. But if we look a little bit deeper to the language that Yosef used, when it says Nachesh Yenachesh, if you take the word Nachesh, it sounds very similar to Nachash, snake. And we very well know from our previous lessons that the numerical value of Nachash is 358, which is identical to the numerical value of Mashiach. He tells him, don't you understand that Nachoshi Nachesh, that right now is the time of Mashiach, that right now is the time to go to the Galut, to merit the Geula? It was all hinted over there. The parasha began with, the previous parasha began with that hint of the Gavia. Parashat Vayigash talks about, you see that Shevet Yehuda and Shevet Yosef, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, is already in the storyline. And we see that right now that they're entering the first Galut. So the whole concept of exile and the redemption is seeped into the Torah. It's seeped into these parashiyot. We just have to extract them. Now take a look at this. We've just established that as soon as we go into the Galut, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with us. We saw that Hashem was the number 70 that went with us, and as soon as we step foot into the Galut, Aleph comes in and says, don't worry, the Geula is already with you. But let's go back to the first opinion of Rashi. Now Rashi said, no, that the 70th soul was Yocheved in the belly, right? Who is Yocheved? She's Moshe's mother. Who is Moshe? Moshe is the Goel. So you can see that as soon as they went into Egypt, who was right there with them? The mother of their Mashiach. The mother of the Goel was right there with them. So as they went into the Galut, she gave birth. Yocheved was born in the gates of Mitzrayim. The birth of Yocheved was there at the same time, proving to us again that as soon as we go into the diaspora, God is right there with us, and that the redemption is there with us also. The solution to get out of it is there also. Now, ironically, is that this entire story that we're talking about right now, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, that Hashem is always with us when we're in the diaspora, when we're in the Galut, is happening in the week of Yud B'Tevet. As a matter of fact, today is Yud B'Tevet. Today is the fast of Asara B'Tevet. What are we fasting? What are we commemorating? The siege of Jerusalem. Jerusalem was surrounded today, and it was surrounded for 30 months until Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, where the gates were breached, and on 3 weeks later, in Tisha B'Av, Bet HaMikdash burnt. So Yud B'Tevet is the beginning of that entire process of the burning of Bet HaMikdash. Now, some other things that you should know about this day. Yud B'Tevet is the day that Mashiach is conceived. Tisha B'Av is the day that he's born. Some other things you should know about this day. It's a very big day for prayer. You should pray for Yerushalayim if you have a chance today. Today is the day that God sits with the Pamalya Shel Ma'ala and decides whether the Geula is going to happen this year. Today is the day when it gets decided. Today is the day when they vote whether it's happening or not. Today is the day that they decide whether the third Bet HaMikdash is going to get built out or not. Whether Mashiach is going to be conceived, whether he's going to be born, and who it's going to be. Today's the day where they decide whether Mashiach ben Yosef, who it's going to be, and who's Mashiach ben David. And whether they're going to make their entrance in order for us to merit our Geula. Whether we merit, or do we continue to be in exile. Now you can see that it's been close to 2,000 years that no generation has been able to get it right. Every year they sit down, they danim beze, they try to decide whether is Mashiach going to come this year, or we're going to build that Bet HaMikdash. They decide, and up until today, we have not been successful. And I ask you, do we look like we're going to be successful this year? Are we that generation that's going to merit? However, we were just talking about the first Galut Mitzrayim. So we said it's Mitzrayim, Bavel, Yavan, Edom. We're in the last one. Some even say Ishmael. We'll touch on that later. We're in Galut Edom. It's the longest one. It's the longest one. And the entire time while we are here in Galut Edom, God has been with us. Where do we have a source for that? Every morning, or before every prayer, there's a custom to say Patach Eliyahu. Patach Eliyahu is an Aramaic prayer that within that prayer you'll find something very, very interesting. It says over there, everyone is always asking, how long is this Galut going to be? How long are we going to be in exile? When is Hashem going to redeem us? When is Mashiach coming? Everybody asks that. Everybody wants Mashiach for different reasons. Kadosh Baruch Hu answers. He says, not only that, we want Mashiach because we feel that what? God is not with us. Where's God? Where's Bet HaMikdash? We used to be able to feel God because you would go to Yerushalayim, you go to Bet HaMikdash, and the Shekhinah was right there. So you would feel a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now, we're an orphaned generation. We don't know what that feels like. We don't know what the Bet HaMikdash feels like. We don't know what it's like to walk into a building that has God's presence in it. So to all those that think that God has left us alone and He's no longer with us, it says over here, Patach Eliyahu, Ela Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, Kadosh Baruch Hu says Himself, Ant Chashavt, you thought, Demiyomad et Charav Bet Mikdasha, Da'alna beveta deli va'alana b'yeshuva. You think that since that Bet HaMikdash, my dwelling, the place of the Shekhinah v'Kadosh Baruch Hu got destroyed, I am no longer there. Lav hachi, no such thing. Because the entire time while you are in the galut, while you are in the exile, the diaspora, I am with you. There's a sign for you. Sheroshi nimla tal. He's bringing now, citing a pasuk from Shir HaShirim, that it talks about, that whole love story that's happening in Shir HaShirim. It talks about the guy who's standing outside of the doorway and his head is filled with dew. So Patach Eliyahu says, Shechinta begaluta. That's the Shekhinah. That's the Shekhinah in the galut. He says, you're in the galut, I'm outside with you. I'm outside and my hair is wet from the dew because I'm not home either. I'm also not in Israel. I'm also not in Jerusalem. I am outside in the exile with you. Patach Eliyahu proves to us that Hashem is with us here also in Galut Edom. Now, if He's here with us in the Galut, that means that the Geula is here with us as well. Like we said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Magdim et hatrufa lamaka. There's no such thing that we're in an exile and we don't already have the solution with us. There's no such thing that the Yaakov and his 70 siblings 70 children, his offspring went into Mitzrayim, and as soon as they stepped foot into Mitzrayim, they had Yocheved, the mother of Moshe Rabbeinu. Surely we have something like that as well. So, in this week's Parashat Vayechi, as the Jews are still in the beginning stages of their first galut of Mitzrayim, Yaakov Avinu wants to reveal to us what's going to be in the final galut. He wants to reveal, they're just a few years 17 years. They are right now 17 years in Mitzrayim, and Yaakov Avinu says, let me reveal to you what's going to be in the final galut. And what happens over there? I'll read you the pasuk. It's Perek Memtet, pasuk Aleph and Bet. Vayikra Yaakov el banav, and Yaakov called his sons, Vayomer, and he tells them, He'asefu v'agida lachem et asher yikra etchem ba'acharit hayamim. He says, gather, and I will tell you what shall come upon you in the end of days. There it is. He wants to reveal it. He wants to give us the time, the date, the person, everything. Hikabetzu v'shim'u bnei Yaakov. Gather, unite, and listen, the sons of Yaakov, v'shim'u el Yisrael avichem, and listen to Israel, your father. These two pesukim are the secret to our success in the diaspora. It says over there, at that particular moment, the Shekhinah leaves him. Ruach HaKodesh leaves him. And Rashi says, on that pasuk, let's see, Bikesh legalot et haketz, he wanted to reveal the end, v'nistalka mimeno Shekhinah. V'yitchil omer dvarim acherim. That piece of information escaped him, and he began to talk about different things. What were the different things? He started to bless each particular son with his character trait, with his bracha, with his weakness. He gave a special bracha to each one. However, he did give us a hint, because as he was saying it, the secret was in his words. He says, Vayomer he'asefu. He says what he wants to reveal to them what's going to be in the end of days. What's the first thing he tells them? He'asefu. Gather. What happens after you gather? Next word, hikabetzu. Unite. After you unite, vishim'u, and listen. Those three words are the secret to our Galut Edom that we're in. The message that Yaakov Avinu was giving us for the last Galut is, first, unite, gather, be together. Heyasefu. And once you're all united and you have unity, the last thing to do is vishim'u. In other words, vishim'u el Israel avichem. You could read it like this: vishim'u el Yosher el avichem, the just God who is your father. In the galut that we're in right now, two things need to happen. One, the Jews need to unite. Two, they need to do teshuvah. And once we do that, we merit to the final redemption. Today, they will decide that. They will decide if we are united. They'll decide if we are listening to God. They'll decide if we're in the teshuvah process. There's still a few hours left to the day. The right thing to do would be to be part of that 20% that merit to the Geulah. We said like Makat HaChoshech, 80% didn't make it, 20% will. Want to be part of that 20% group. What do you do? Check yourself into a prayer, into tefillah, and tell God, I'm a work in progress. I'm doing teshuvah. I want Mashiach. Please bring it. Cast your vote for the third Bet HaMikdash. Don't let this day just pass. The past few parashiyot dealing with Yosef, Yehuda, Galut, Yaakov, Ketz Hayamim, the end of days. Why? Because Yud B'Tevet is just around that time. The siege of Jerusalem, and they weren't able to get it right. Why do Chachamim give us this day? Not so we could suffer because we're not having now falafel and hummus. Not so we can suffer. The suffering maybe helps us remember, or maybe helps us connect what a sad day it is. Kadosh Baruch Hu gives us this day, or Chachamim instituted this day, because this day that everything got ruined on is the day that we have a chance to fix. Imagine God waited for 30 months, close to 3 years, for Jews to do teshuvah before He brought the enemy upon them. And they didn't. They pushed Him off. Leave me alone. We're good. We're comfortable. We like the Greek culture. So since that generation missed the opportunity to teshuvah, then on this day we have the opportunity to do what? To do teshuvah. to come back, to cast our vote and say, Hashem, we want Mashiach. Hashem, I am a work in progress. I am doing teshuvah. Hashem, I want to be part of that 20% that's going to merit the Geulah, the bringing of Mashiach, Tchiyat HaMetim, Olam Haba. I want to be part of that group. This week's parasha and last week's parasha is a wake-up call for the concept of Mashiach. You know, it's something that we always talk about, we always wish for, we always ask about, we're always perplexed about. Today is the day that you say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want it, and I want to be a part of it. That's why this concept is alive in Parashat Shavua, because when Yud B'Tevet comes, Yehuda, Yosef, and Yaakov Avinu want you to think about the Geulah. They want you to think about the redemption, and they want you to be connected to it. So when Yud B'Tevet comes around, you cast your vote and be part of the solution of bringing the Aleph to the Golah, to bring the Aleph with us to the Galut that we're in, the Galut Edom, in order for us to merit the Geulah. One last thing, there is an opinion that there's a fifth Galut. It's the Galut of Ishmael. They say it's going to be it's going to be like parallel to the time of Edom. Galut Ishmael is the Arabs. You don't need to be a genius to see that the Arabs are terrorizing the world. Every part of the world there's uprising, Paris is burning, England is going down the toilet. You can see all the different things that's in the media, just lies and lies and lies. Everything is a lie. Everything is killing, murders. That's not God's world. That's what human beings have turned God's world into. The time has come to bring the kavod back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The time has come to bring the honor back to God, the honor back to Yerushalayim, the honor back to the Jewish people. And it's not the way that other people do it, being haughty and saying we're the righteous ones, we're the chosen people. The way we bring the honor back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is just by following the Torah, mitzvot, maasim tovim, and doing your personal teshuvah. The way that we merit to the final Geulah is when you do your part for yourself. Be'ezrat Hashem shenizkeh lebiat HaMashiach, to the building of Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi, and the Be'ezrat Hashem that we get a positive outcome and the judgment in the Shamayim today for the coming of Mashiach this year. Amen.
Amen.